Welcome to Talk Dirt to Me, where two farmers shatter myths and take on the top issues facing America's farmers. Here's your hosts, Logan and Bobby Lee.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah, another good afternoon. It's I think it's becoming a trend.
It is right now. Hey, we might as well take advantage while we can.
Yeah. A rainy, nasty day here in West Tennessee. Like, I assume you weren't probably had too much you could get done today.
No, I've been working on an audiobook. That's about it.
Oh yeah, well, that's a good rainy day project. Me and Willis took his dirt bike up to the dealer. It wasn't working. So
it's electric one.
Yeah, it's a little
Dang.
electric dirt bike. I don't know. They're like, I would think we know what it is. We'll get it in there and check it out. So that's really about all I've done today.
Well, and they've been, your kids are out for the flu. Not that yours have it, but I guess the whole school is shut down.
Yeah. They were talking yesterday. We're at, like, I think over 20% of the student body is out with flu, and then so many teachers, they couldn't keep enough substitutes lined up. Said, hey, how about it's the end of the week? Take these next couple of days, disinfect everything, give everybody a chance to spread out, not just keep spreading this thing further and further. So
Yeah. That's crazy, man. It is going around like crazy. Well, for all of our people tuning in, you need to hit that like button, hit subscribe. We've really been growing, man. Our YouTube has really been jumping here lately. It seems to be good. We got some good comments from people. We asked you guys keep leaving us some comments. We love to see your comments. Hey, y'all check out our Instagram and Facebook. Bobby Lee and I were just talking. We've got I think our reels look pretty cool now. So, Give us some love. Share those, guys. Share the reels. That's another thing. Like, we talk about word of mouth and sharing them. Share those reels. Like, that's great for us. So,
yeah, 'cause obviously just the podcast listening format, and then we got the people that are watching on YouTube. But as far as us trying to outreach and grow, like, I guess probably Instagram, Facebook are big ones for us. And Logan's really been putting a lot of work on kind of improving the quality of some of that, and
trying to make them look a little more enticing.
Make us look professional.
Yeah. And we did, I guess I gave the Apple people enough shit. We did gain 2 reviews.
There you go.
So y'all are doing a little better.
You two pat yourselves on the back. The rest of y'all,
you just...
Yeah, hit pause, go ahead and leave that rating and review.
Yeah, because Spotify is just crushing it. I mean, they absolutely are crushing the hell out of it.
The new one. I mean, because I have both. Now, my default, if I'm just listening to a podcast, is Apple Podcast. It just seems a little easier. I use Spotify more for music, or like Rogan, obviously.
Yeah.
If I listen to him, I guess that's the only place you can listen to him. But anyway, yeah, y'all keep it up.
Yeah. What else do they need to do?
Check out agzaga.com.
That's right.
I was on the website just this week. Of course, we talked about the commodity jugs. I've got me a couple that I keep gasoline in, but I need to go ahead and order me one to put diesel in. I keep my diesel tank on my truck most of the year, but I've taken it off because I use the truck to feed hay in the wintertime. And our little Kubota side-by-side, my wife ran it out of diesel the other day.
I thought you were about to say she put gas in it.
No, that would have been even worse.
Yeah.
So I've got an old diesel can, but I was filling it up the other day, and I was like, no way. Like, I'm not going to do this ever again. I'm going to order me a commodity jug that's specifically for diesel. But yeah, check them out. No full prices ever paid. Use that discount code TALKDIRT, all caps, all one word. Take 10% off your order.
Yep, do it. Ag has been in the hot seat. Man, with all this confirmation hearings and stuff going on.
I'm a little bit out of the loop. Has Brooke Rollins been confirmed?
No, she has finished her hearings. Yeah. I think now, and from what I watched, she will be confirmed. Like, even the Cory Booker, who's usually an idiot, he loves her.
He's been on the right side of a few things.
Yeah.
As far as ag, Corbett every now and then gives him a little bit of a shout out, which is funny because I'm pretty sure he at least claims to be a vegan.
Cory does?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I listened to him.
Spartacus.
Yes, yeah. I listened to him kind of go on his questions to Brooke, and he was actually a super nice guy. Yeah. Like, he was really good to Brooke, and he...
well, hers didn't get near the headlines like the RFK.
My God, that one has been awful.
Which, I mean, just because... The average American has no idea who Brooke Rollins is.
Yeah.
Like, she just doesn't catch headlines, for CNN or whatever. But,
of
course, RFK Jr., oh, my God, he's
anti-vaxxer.
Anti-vax, like, which is just crazy. Some of the stuff.
He's making money. Elizabeth Warren is a total dumbass. Like
Her and Bernie Sanders both looked like idiots.
Yeah.
I guess that was yesterday or the day before when they were.
Elizabeth was like, I want you to promise that you will not take any money from your lawsuits during and 4 years after. The 4 years after thing is stupid. Like, it's like, all right, during, sure, whatever. And he even said that. He's like, while I'm serving, yeah, like I'm okay with everything. But the 4 years after, he's like, what? Like, that's stupid.
Well, and of course, the Babylon Bee always nails it pretty much.
Yep.
You see the one they had, it's like Paul's in RFK's confirmation hearings to let them know that this message is brought to you by
Pfizer.
Pfizer's the official sponsor of these hearings.
Yes. Babylon Bee they're gold. Like they are killing it. Yeah, and which RFK kind of even made a snicker like at Elizabeth in that point, because she made a remark like, will you refuse to take any payments from like medical groups during and 4 years after? And he was like, well, me? Will I? Like,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, we can, because I guess a lot of that's public record. Some of it may be under the table, but
Yeah.
how much money your campaign has taken from these groups over the years.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Brooke, her back and forth with Corey was actually really good. Corey's big focus was on small farmers. He's like, we need to help the small guys. Yeah. He even did mention some of the big ag, like big corporation farmers are they're dominating the industry, and that needs to be changed. And, and I shared the thing on Instagram. It was the clip of Brooke talking to Tuberville, and it was really good.
Yeah.
And
so he's been kind of because I always, everybody knows him from his days coaching football.
Yeah.
And, but he's been kind of I don't know. He hadn't been necessarily good for small ag, and
no, he seems like a big ag guy.
Yeah, I know he's kind of been in Corbett's crosshairs a couple times on the feeder flash for, being kind of in opposition to some of these bills that we thought could have helped the small cattle producers and cattle feeders and whatnot, and limited some of the influence that the big beef packers have. But yeah,
well, and it doesn't surprise me, but they're on that video I shared. It's funny, man, and this is one of the topics I kind of want to get into. I had a couple people comment. Brooke literally talked like they watched these were just snippets of her. We still haven't even seen what she's going to do, and people were like, "I'm done with her."
Well, that's kind of like a lot of what she said. I'm like, I don't even really, I'm like, what does that actually translate to?
Yeah.
In the form of policy.
Well, one guy said she didn't mention anything about like it was like reducing the numbers on the amount of workers, and I'm thinking, well, she hadn't even had a chance to get there yet. Like, I'm not going to write the chick off immediately, because I've listened to several other people in the ag sector, and a lot of them actually think like she truly, because she seems to have kind of a soft spot for small farmers.
Well, and was that specifically, were they referencing the fact that, where the immigrant labor may become an issue?
Maybe.
Were they talking about the workers?
Well, no. They were talking about, she didn't mention anything about reducing the government workers, like the amount of people working for the government in the USDA. Like,
yeah.
However,
because I think a lot of us, the USDA is not unlike any other government agency where it's
bloated.
Yeah, extremely bloated. Just way too much. You could cut. And again, I hope none of our local people lose their jobs. 'Cause, I do rely on. But yeah, in a lot of those, I don't even know, but I'm sure. There's probably a way you get Elon and the Doge in there, and they could probably cut half those people. And
it does make me wonder.
Notice.
It does make me wonder though, thinking about like if I think about our local office, they're a pretty slim crew up there.
Yeah, they are.
Like you go up there and it'll only be three or four people up there, and I'm telling you, they wade through some paperwork. Like I know.
Well, and I think they could probably make that more efficient.
I would say they could definitely cut out some of that, the red tape.
And again, you don't want to, I guess we do want to eliminate some of those jobs if it is, as bloated as it is, but yeah.
So, well, one of the things the social media thing kind of made me think of, I made a note of this, because it's kind of ticked me off a little bit. And this is, I made a note. I said, farmers should want others to succeed. And I say that meaning in the grand scheme of farming, cattlemen, ranchers, farmers, whatever you want to call it all that encompassed, all agriculture as a whole, because I rope it all in there. We all are in the same, but like we're all in the same game together. I don't care if you're a row crop guy or if you're a produce guy. And that's what, on that same video, I had a guy comment, and he said, well, I don't know any farmers that had a bad year in 24. And I said, man, he said, we did just fine. And I commented back, and I said, dude, I don't know any farmers that did good in 24. And I went to his page, and I'm not singling anybody out. I mean, if he listens, it's nothing personal against you. It just made me think of this. It represents a whole issue in ag. And this guy does produce farming, which is very much, that's a pretty lucrative industry right now. Produce is booming if you're selling your own produce. Like
selling direct,
like that is I'm sure you were not affected by the commodity markets because the price of corn or the price of soybeans did not affect the price of cabbage or lettuce or tomatoes. Like it didn't, especially if you're selling direct. Yeah. So it kind of, when I went to his page, I'm like, well, no shit. Like, I'm sure you didn't feel the impact of it, but.
Right. And there's so many different little segments. Yeah. Like your tiny segment may have done factors aligned where you had a good year.
Yep.
And that's great. We're happy for you. But
he commented.
Yeah, to then make that seem like, well, just because in my tiny little corner of the world we did pretty good, doesn't mean everybody else did. Yeah.
Well, and that's what he commented back to me and said, well, all I know is I'm not worried about it because we're all right. And I was like, I just thought to myself, and I guess if he does listen, it is what it is, but I just thought to myself, what a shitty attitude.
Yeah, what a dickhead.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so everybody else can burn. As long as I'm doing all right, fuck them. That's how I took it. I'm like, so are all the row crop guys, hey, you can just go to hell. As long as we're doing all right over here. Or that'd be like row crop guys being like, hey, all you cattlemen, just piss off, man. Hey, we don't need you. And that's the thing, like, all of the ag in the U.S. is a part of a wheel. We are all cogs in the wheel of American agriculture. And another guy commented, and he said, yeah, well, he was kind of like, yeah, I did all right, and they just don't like that I run old equipment. And I was like, nope, nobody gives a shit how old your equipment is. Like, it might make for good videos if people like watching antique equipment in the field. Like, it makes for good content. But I can promise you that, and I commented back to him and I said, dude, I don't care what equipment my neighbor runs. Like, all I care is my shit going to run when I get to the field? Like, is my stuff running? Only time I care is if I drive by and I see it and it's a cool looking piece of equipment. I'm like, hey, damn, that's a pretty cool looking tractor.
Yeah.
And then I go to my field and I've done forgot about it. But I can assure you, none of the BTOs, these big operators that haunt these guys, they ain't going to their field being like, that son of a bitch over there is running a 50-year-old tractor that like they don't give a shit.
Yeah, and right there are ways. I mean, you talked about that, keeping your equipment costs down. Obviously, you may spend a lot of money on maintenance. Hopefully, you're pretty handy yourself. You're going to run older equipment like that, but keeping that equipment cost per acre down. Yeah, that's probably something in these lean years that does really benefit those guys. And
yeah. But it's two issues in ag.
Which that's why the independence of each individual farmer is nice too. Because if you want to run really old equipment because you're really good at maintaining and working on things and keep that cost per acre down, even if though maybe you don't cover as many acres in a day, that's the way you make it work. That's by all means, that's what makes American agriculture great. There's different ways and different of getting to the same goal of being profitable.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it highlights two things that stand out to me. And the first one is very much this every man for himself mentality that's in ag. And I mean, you see it in on all the forums online, they'll talk about our commodity prices are terrible. And people will say, well, if we could just get all the farmers to stop growing a crop for 1 year, and inevitably someone will comment and say, well, none of the farmers are going to do that because none of them will stand together. And I do see a lot of that.
Well, and then, right, as a result of that, the price is going to shoot up. And so then there's going to be a point where, the market's decided, okay, I can't sit this out because it's too lucrative. And that's where, the market working itself out is great, but the government definitely has their thumb on the scale in terms of, they, in many ways, they've probably forced a lot of guys into working marginal ground and doing other things that, I gave the example a few weeks ago about the guy that was trying to rent up some pasture, but he couldn't pay the rent that farm was going to bring for crop farming. And the primary difference was, even though it was much more suited for cattle, but by them adding that however many acres, that you get more subsidies. And so then it's hard for a cattleman to produce or compete with the rent prices that they can get but a lot of that, it's artificially propped up in ways by different subsidies and programs that really don't have anything to do with the fundamentals of the market, but, have worked their way in and are, I don't know that we have much chance of ever getting completely away from them.
Yeah, no, I don't either in that, which that was one thing Brooke did highlight. She was like, we cannot rely on subsidies to be the answer. She did make that remark, which I was like, well, that's good. That's moving in the right direction. But I don't know, man, it just hit a string or hit a chord with me. Cause I'm like, well, that's not the industry. That's not my exact industry. So I don't care. And that is a stupid ass way to think. Like, as a row cropper, I want the cattle industry to do well. I want to see our pork industry do well. I want the produce industry to do well. Like, it's not a like, oh, I want to do well and see everyone else fail.
Well, I need row crop farmers to do good and raise a big crop because that's where cattle feed comes from, and it is directly tied to cattle prices. And right now cattle prices are good and commodities, grains are low, and so it's a time when cattle do pencil out sometimes a little easier. But I don't need everybody to go broke raising corn, because then all of a sudden that market does shoot way up. It's the same way like in the meat and animal agriculture side of things. Like, I want the meat packers to make money. Like, by all means, I want every segment of the beef production, the retailers, the cow-calf guys, the stocker guys, all the feedlots, everybody. But, you don't need it to get as far out of balance as it has been at times where, one
where
segment
you get four that are getting filthy rich and the rest are picking up the scraps. One segment is making
all the money and has the least risk. Yeah. And you got, a lot of the producers and the cattle feeders that are, they're taking on all the risk to get the tiniest little sliver of the profits. So,
well, it's the other thing that I thought was kind of funny, and I've seen this on Facebook and Instagram and kind of across. Have you ever noticed there's a really odd, almost like an elitist mentality to running old equipment?
Yeah, it's right.
Like, I'm a better farmer than this guy because I run old ass stuff.
Right. And there's, hey, look, be proud of what you got. Whether it's an X9 combine or you're running, I don't know what would be.
Like a 9600.
Yeah. And you've maintained it. Like, be proud of whatever you got. But where they almost look down at guys running newer stuff, kind of the opposite of what you thought it would be.
On Facebook last week, I was on there, and I'm in several farm groups, and so this was like a suggested, Facebook's algorithm suggests pages to me, and this was like Farmer's Life or something is what it's called, and it showed two cabs, and one, it was like a 4760, the inside view of a John Deere 4760. For people who don't know, that'd been an older tractor, 80s, 90s model.
I'll say maybe early 90s, yeah.
Yep. And the other was like an 8R 400. And I knew, and the 8R 400 is like, that's like brand spanking new. I knew what to expect. I went to the comments, and because it was thousands of comments, and like all the comments I saw, it was like, I'd take that old tractor every day of the week. I don't want none of that. And then some other people were like, that older tractor, that one's for farmers. That new tractor, that one's for just people that sit in a seat and play games on their phone all day. And I commented on there and I said,
if you gave everybody truth serum and said you can have either one of these tractors paid for free and clear, you know, or maybe you just got a 1 year, you know,
free usage. Yeah.
100 out of 100 of you would go get on that 8RX.
If you wouldn't, you are an idiot.
Yeah, you need your head examined.
You do.
I mean, unless, you know, if it just would be completely incompatible with any of your implements, that's probably not even.
No, yeah, it would work with everything.
Yeah. No, you 100% of you would. You might lose some of your internet clout with some of your, within your little clique, but at the same time, like, you're gonna jump on that thing. I mean, theoretically, it shouldn't have a single issue. If it does, it's that new.
Hell, it's under warranty.
Yeah, you call somebody now. I don't know how long it takes them to get out there. That might, you know, and yeah, as far as being able to work on it yourself, right? But at the same time, you jump on that thing,
you should not have to work on it early.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what, and I commented on there and I said, any person that says they would pick the 4000 series over this 8R has either never driven one or that's what I said. I said they have never driven one or been inside one, because I said,
and they're just blowing smoke on the internet because they know it's never a situation.
It's not realistic.
Yeah, they're never going to be in that situation where they'll have to put their money where their mouth is. Yeah.
Yes, I commented that I said I got to drive a leased 8R 340. And I said, my normal tractor is a 2004 8420, which is still newer than the 4000s. But I said, we used to have a 4760. I said, I loved that tractor. It was a good tractor in its day. I said, I drove this leased 8R 340. I said, it was 10 times the tractor that this 4760 was. I said, I could hook a chain to the 4760 and probably rip it in half with this 8R 340. And if I had to sit in a tractor, because this is another thing that tickles me. Farmers, it's like the more uncomfortable a tractor is, it's like a more pride moment that they drive the thing. And I'm like, with the amount of hours that we spend in the cab of a tractor, I want the damn thing to be pretty comfortable, because then it keeps me in there longer. Like when I'm planting, if I'm going to plant for 14 hours, would I rather be sitting uncomfortably for 14 hours, or would I rather be in a pretty comfortable tractor for 14 hours? I think I'd rather be comfortable.
Yeah. Well, that's, I had that old 4030 and I kind of bought it on a whim. We're like, oh man, this is just cool.
Yeah.
Old round cab. It was green, and there's something about them being green.
That's the one I had to come rescue you a couple times.
Yeah. There we go. But it even went in. I had one mechanical issue with it. We got it fixed pretty easily.
Yeah.
But still, thing was slow as a snail on the road.
Oh man. Yeah.
And you don't think, because I don't do any like long distance traveling, but I've replaced it with that M4 Kubota, which is actually rated as a little less horsepower, but I do 26 miles an hour on the road versus about 17 or 18.
Yep.
The hydraulics are so much better. Like, I mean, that old tractor, you think, oh, the radio doesn't work. It's not a big deal. Air conditioner worked, but it was kind of like, if it was a blisteringly hot day, you were always just a little bit nervous. You're like, at any point, could this thing quit working? I never have that concern on that M4. I mean, obviously it can have air conditioner issues, but it's 1,000 times more likely to happen on that old tractor. And it got to a point where like, driving an M4 Kubota isn't probably as cool as driving that old 4030.
Yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely made the right decision.
Yes, you did. You did.
And I had some other little mechanical issues with it, and I'm a better mechanic than I once was, but I ain't much of a mechanic at all.
Yeah.
And so I just knew, I was like, man, if I keep running this tractor, it's going to cost me production at some point. I mean, it already had, I was broken down on the side of the road. You came to rescue me. And then I was broken down one other time that wasn't as big of an issue. My dad and I got it going again. But yeah, I don't have too much concern of that with my new tractor.
Dude, that's where, and I guess the big thing on this, it's like, run what you can afford, run what you want to run. I don't give a shit what you run. I don't, and I'm going to say something that would make some of those guys mad. And that is, the best farmers that I know actually all run a lot newer shit. Just to be totally honest, like, I know some guys that run older stuff, and some of them are great farmers. But if I had to think of like, who's the best cotton grower around here, who grows the best corn around here, all the people that pop in my head, they actually all run pretty damn new stuff. And even like you talk about the hydraulics, my 2004, or actually that Dad and them, they had an 8330. So this is a 2009. So like pretty, to me, hell, I hear 2009, I still think, oh, that tractor's pretty new.
Yeah.
But it's, that's a damn near 20-year-old tractor. But this 2009, we run red planters, and we run swivel style 12. I got a 1245. Dad has a 2145 or 2140. They take a tremendous amount of hydraulic pressure. They got all kinds of hydraulic hoses hooked up, and it is a lot of hydraulics going on these things. Dad had a lot of trouble out of that planter the first year he ran it. He was running it on an 8330. They bought that 8345R, which was like a 2021 or 2020 model tractor. And all of the trouble he was having went away, and the planter runs great.
Yeah.
And it was because of the hydraulics. The other tractor, even being an 09, just did not have quite the hydraulic capabilities of the new ones.
Yeah. What year was that planter he's got?
It's like a 22 or 23 model.
So the planter's about the same, in line with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so I imagine when they're doing development of those new planters and whatnot, and testing them and going through all those phases before they bring them to market, they're not running them on a
4760.
Yeah, or even a 8330.
Yes.
They've got them slapped to a brand new tractor.
Yep. And I'll tell you, that's another thing. Like the horsepower difference, man, that 8R 340 I ran, I mean, my 8420 ain't no slouch, but that 8R 340, it would eat that thing's lunch. And it had duals, and it had automatic differential lock and automatic four-wheel drive. And I put that thing, and I can't say I didn't tell the dealers, because I sent pictures to Michael, like at some point. I clawed that thing through mud. I mean, I went through stuff that as I'm driving into it, I'm like, I'm about to bury this bastard. And it would just claw right through.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, they got that different suspension. And you mentioned in the speed, that makes me think, I had that 7140 Case. That was a 250 horsepower tractor. She was stout. And I had a bunch of people that were like, when I sold that tractor, I had people that were like, oh, I'd have sold that 8420 before I'd have sold the 7140. And I'm like, well, that would be a terrible decision, because that was a 90, the 7140 was like a 1994 model. My 8420 is a 2004 model. So it's 10 years of technology advance. My 8420, it'll do 26 or 27 on the road. That 7140 do like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And that people that have not driven a tractor on the road, and you hear a 6 or 7 mile per hour difference, you're like, oh, that ain't that much. It is a bunch on the road.
We're talking about those lowest speeds to begin with, which on that subject, one thing on these newer tractors, like these smaller ones especially, they are bad about, that all the emission stuff and whatnot. Like old tractors, you're going down the road, you start pulling a hill, I should just start blowing black smoke.
You just keep the throttle up.
Now, on these little ones, it is annoying. And again, I'm talking about these like 100 horse sub.
Oh, it ain't even just, no, the big ones do it too.
Yeah, you have to downshift.
Yeah.
Like it's almost embarrassing sometimes. Like I'm pulling a rake. Like the rake doesn't weigh anything. And like I'll be pulling a hill and you have to come way down out of road gear.
Yeah.
Are y'all's like this when you get all the way up into road gear, it won't even run full RPMs?
It depends on the mode.
Yeah.
There's like that 8345R and that 8R, they had a full auto mode, which I ran it in. Because like my 8420, it just has the throttle and I just run it wide open on the road. But the 8345R and them, man, there's a little mode. You can turn it off and it'll run just full RPMs. But on the road, I just turn it on full auto. But yeah, if you're doing 20, and hell, that 8R 340, I think it would do 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But if you hit a hill, like you take a slight grade and you're in 15th, 16th gear, which the 8R didn't have gears. It had the hydrostatic knob. Yeah. You just push it forward. But let's say you're running 30 and you come up on a hill I mean, yeah, this is a big, badass tractor, but it's going to, by the time you crest the hill, you're going to be doing like 22 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like it falls on its face. My little tractor here does it at 59.
Yeah. Because that's about the same horsepower like I'm dealing with. But yeah, because I'm in 11th gear, you basically are doing top speed. But then when I go to 12th, you maybe gain another mile per hour, but it drops
your RPMs. Yep.
Your RPMs don't run near as high. And like, yeah, if you're on flat ground, you're traveling a long way on the road. Yeah, it makes it a lot more fuel efficient. But
I run this one.
It's awful. It'll be a barely perceptible hill, and you'll be like, "Are you kidding me? I got a downshift."
That tractor it's got 4 gears.
Yeah.
It's got an A, B, C range, and then it's got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
and then it's
4.
got a high, low of each gear. And
Okay.
I just run it
Just
in
a little button on the side of the shifter.
Yep.
Yeah.
I run it in 4 low, and it has the RPMs like screaming, but I keep it in 4 low most of the time on the road because you can hit a hill and it won't fade as bad. If you put it in high gear, yeah, you may gain a mile per hour, but your RPMs come down.
Yeah.
And yeah, you take a hill and it's like, it's just barely coming up that hill.
Yeah.
So I do drop it down on that, but I guess we say all that to say, it doesn't make you a better farmer to run old shit. It doesn't make you a better farmer to run new shit. Like, it doesn't matter. You run what you want to run.
Yeah, your operation may be where it pencils better when you have a lot lower equipment cost per acre and makes sense to run something older. But yeah.
If I was filthy rich, money was no option to me. And this is what I'd ask like those guys. Like if money was no object to you and you just were loaded and you owned 1,000 acres of paid for ground and it's just perfect row crop ground, and your budget is so, like, you're Elon Musk rich, like, you got so much money you'll never spend all your money, and you're like, I just want to farm. Would you rather farm 1,000 acres with 50-year-old equipment, or would you rather run the baddest, most comfortable, awesome stuff? Because I know for me, if I'm in that situation, dude, I'm going to have the baddest to the bone equipment there is. I'm going to run a 60-foot planter, and like, I'm going to be teched out, man. I like that. I'm like,
well, and a lot of it does come down to comfort, because even my newer, I say newer, compared to that 4030, my old Kubota that I just sold, it was like 10 years old, but the radio didn't work.
Yeah.
And I could have fixed it, but I was always like, if I'm in there for a while, I'll just put an earbud in, whatever. But that was kind of an annoyance.
Yeah.
Like whenever I could get on, if it didn't really matter which tractor I was on, I didn't really need all the extra horsepower, I was going to get on that new M4 just because it was just that much more comfortable.
Yep.
More pleasant to drive.
I feel like it'd be different if we spent 2 hours in a tractor.
Yeah.
But when you sit in a tractor for 10 hours or something a day, I don't think, then whether people like to admit it or not, comfort does play a part. I mean, and I guess I'm secure in my manhood enough to admit that I like to be comfortable in a tractor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sometimes and we mentioned this last week. I know Taylor mentioned it in his episode. He kind of finds joy in some of what we're doing being more laborious than it has to, because it's kind of like my little farm workout.
Yeah.
And like when I'm feeding cows, like, man, it'd be nice to have a feed box on this truck, whatnot, to make this easier, but it would cost a lot of money and I have to make some adjustments. And so I'm like, no, I kind of embrace the suck. I'm like, no, it's good for me to be out here toting all these buckets.
Yeah.
Keeps me from getting too soft.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it makes me think about one of the things Dad has told me, because, I mentioned, one of my goals, I like to lift weights and I like to get strong. And so Dad and I, sometimes if we're doing something, we were like tightening some lug nuts or something up on like I don't remember, a tractor or combine. And I've got a 3/4 inch drive pull bar.
Yeah.
And I had put a pipe on it, and I'm like torquing out on this thing. And Dad has a 1 inch impact, like a 1 inch drive impact. And he's like, let me just put this impact on it. And I'm like, I got it. And I'm like, just gut busting over here doing that. And he's like, one day you're going to pay for doing all that shit. Like, he's like, you. And he mentioned Shorty. Do you remember Shorty over at the shop? He said, Shorty, he would always do shit the hard way. And he said, by the time he was old, he was so damn broke down, he couldn't even do anything. And he was like, that's how you're going to be. You keep trying to do crap like this. And so there's part of me that thinks like, there's a reason the old saying "work smarter, not harder" exists, and it's because there's
a balance there.
There is a balance. Like, and I agree. Like, there's something to me about driving fence posts and fencing. Like, I haven't fenced in a long time, but I remember
I should have been doing some of that today.
Well, I want to fence in this place out here. This is where I want to put the cattle on this around the house. But when me and Dad used to fence, like back when I would help him do that, man, you get done with that, I swear my testosterone levels were higher. Like, you just feel like a man after doing that.
Yeah.
So no, I get that, but this like elitist us versus them thing, it's so damn tiring going on the farm and stuff. Like,
well, and that's just social media for you in general. Like, everybody's it's one big pissing match.
It is. So, guys, just quit being assholes. Now one of the other things. I did laugh. I want to give a shout out to this company. I think do you have an American Hat Company hat?
Yeah.
I don't have one of theirs. I just got that, like I said, Buckaroo, but
I have one of their straw hats.
I need to get a straw hat.
Yeah.
Well, they had shared a thing of Trump after he won, and it was him. He talked about farmers and ranchers are the backbone of the country, and they shared that clip, and this dude commented on there, and he was gay. He was a gay dude, and he was very triggered by the fact that they shared Trump. And I'm not calling him like he was a gay. He was legitimately gay because he made the reference in the speech or in his comment. But he was like, this company needs to realize that not everybody is a conservative, straight white man that loves Donald Trump and yada, 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 and all this stuff. And a bunch of people commented back and forth, and I commented on there, and I said, dude, I like the fact that a company's not afraid to share their values. I said, it has helped me quit doing business with some companies, and it has helped me to double down on my business with some companies. I like knowing where, if I buy a product from this company, wonder where my money's going. Like, is it going to support causes that I'm for, or is it going to support things I'm against? And that guy kept coming back and forth, and he came back again. He was like, well, they need to just, they shouldn't. And what it boiled down to was he was just mad because their values did not line up with his values. And I told him, I said, not every company has to cater to you. I said,
do business with another company. I mean,
yep. And that's what I said that to him. I said, I'm sure there's another hat company out there. And he was like, well, they should just stop sharing, like, or being with, and do it, kind of basically change their values. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Because for the consumer that is mindful of those things, I guarantee you the majority of people buying cowboy hats, even if they're, not a rancher themselves, they have values that align more with the ranching world. And
yep,
those are going to tend to be more conservative.
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with being gay. Like, hell, people, Trump.
Hell, Bobby Lee's gay.
Yeah, it's a fluid situation, right? Can't you just decide you are, and you don't even have to really be?
Queer is what they call that now.
Yeah.
I think queer means you go either way.
I saw that clip you sent me, and like they couldn't even define what queer was, because it was Charlie Kirk who always does those things. And he was like, "Well, just tell me, like, literally." He's like, "I legitimately want to know, like, what is queer? Like, how is that different?" Because he's like, "Well, he said the same thing when I was growing up. You used to call somebody queer, like that was
a slur.
You were getting sent to the principal's office."
Yes.
And now there's people that are like going around like, "No, call me queer.
Yeah.
Like I am a queer. That's how I." And like, yeah, we played Smear the Queer, and I remember you couldn't call it that. You know?
But, you had to call it like Drag It the Faggot or something.
Yeah, the teachers approved of that name.
Yes. Yes.
But right, and obviously, the whole gay straight thing. I don't even know if that's that political anymore, because I think both parties are like, yeah, we don't care if you're gay.
Yeah. But I guess this is like this whole episode I'm kind of harping on social media, but it just kind of goes more into that thing where dude, companies don't have to cater to you. Like that's like our podcast. I guarantee you there have been people that listen to this podcast and they have been triggered by some of the things we've said. And I think we've had people that have said stuff. I know we've had people say stuff on Instagram And I've responded to them, and I've told them to go listen to a different podcast.
Yeah. There's never been more podcasts.
Yes, and I guarantee there is probably a gay cowboy making cowboy hats selling the thing. So that's where I'm like, if that's what you want, then go seek that out.
But I would almost say that guy's politics probably don't allow that guy
probably.
Anyway. But,
Yep. So that that just kind of tickled me. I do got to mention the egg prices, man. Have you seen the egg prices?
It's one of those things, because you gave me some eggs not too long ago, and then my hens finally started laying. And I'm one of those people, when I'm at the store.
You need something, you don't look at the price.
Right. And maybe I'm
the same way.
I'm sharing how privileged I am.
Yeah.
I notice when I pay, and they're like, that's $73. I'm like, whoa. I tap my card on the little thing, and I walk up to it. But it's not just like, man, that was expensive. But like, if we need milk and butter and eggs, I put them in the basket. You know?
That's how I am. Yeah.
Because eggs, like for a lot of people point out, especially like the egg producers, for what you're getting, it's still not that expensive. But which that kind of leads me into a little bit, the egg prices have been influenced by a lot of things, the avian influenza, probably maybe being the chief one. But you've seen some of these people talk about, they're rounding up all these illegals and shipping them out, which I think obviously they're targeting the ones that are here criminally, aren't contributing at all first.
Yeah.
But the worry that, okay, what if we start to lose some farm workers, whether it's in produce or dairy or in the meat packing plants or whatever, because there's a lot of these jobs that they don't pay very well. It's hard work. And so it's hard to get Americans, especially when a lot of us are lazy and just want to collect a government check to do it. And so the whole thing, like, well, who's gonna pick our food and all that? Well, I have a problem with that, because what you're basically saying is, I want my food to be cheap, and I don't care if we have to pay an immigrant below market value to do it.
Yeah.
It's not slavery, but we're unwilling to pay a living wage to an American person, which again, I think there's other factors in play there, with, you could, even outside of ag with the welfare system and whatnot, that doesn't encourage people to get out there and work when they could.
Agreed.
But a lot of that goes back to, and this may go over like a turd in a punch bowl, but I think our food is too cheap.
Yeah.
Well, I looked it up based on a percentage of household income. What country pays the least for their food?
Who do I think it is?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it us?
Yes.
Really?
It's easily us.
Really?
There's, we pay on average only 6.4% of our household income on food.
Yeah.
For food.
Who's the next in line?
So Singapore, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Canada, Ireland, Australia, and Austria. Those are the 8 countries that spend less than 10% of household income on food. But even as I look at this, like even Australia and Austria, they're right at 10%, like 9.8, 9.9. That's 50% more than we're paying.
Yeah.
Just based on household income. And look, I don't look forward to paying more at the grocery store than I have to.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've kind of been spoiled. And obviously we're a first world country. I think we're the greatest country in the world. Like, yes, I want us to have the highest household income. And so as a result of that, obviously, percentage that we'll pay for food should be less than a lot of other places.
Yeah.
But, Singapore's not that far behind us at 6.7%. We're at 6.4%. But then third is the UK all the way up at 8.2%. Like that's pretty
good. That is
pretty big jump in percentage difference. And so,
wow,
it's like, and look, is the farmer, I worry that, if all of a sudden we were paying 10% of our household income for food, which would be big, people would really be bitching and moaning then. I don't know how much more of that money would actually end up in the farmer's pocket.
Yeah.
But as I look at this, I'm like, you know what? We probably don't pay those workers what they should be getting in it. And I'm still skeptical that even if you bump those wages by 50%, do you have all of a sudden a lot of, U.S. citizens that are willing to go do that work, or are you still having to bring in a lot of that really cheap labor?
That makes me think about like our farm hands on the row crop side. I've hired some guys to help every harvest. I hire somebody to help drive a truck and help me out. And when I came back and started farming in 2015, most guys that worked for a farmer were getting paid about $10 an hour. And nowadays, everybody that I've ever hired to help me, they get $18 to $20 an hour. And our income and stuff has not increased.
It's not doubled like that wage.
No, not like that. And I mean, our profit margins are awful. But I mean, and there's a lot of guys now that are making, working for farmers that are making 20, 22, 25. Hell, I mean, I've heard of guys making $30 an hour working for farmers. So do I think that there is, like, guys probably have historically been paying too little for their help. And I know, and like I said, that's got to come somewhere. And yeah, I'm kind of agree, man. I mean,
well, it's basically the same argument that whenever slavery ended, they're like, well, who's going to pick all the cotton?
Yeah. Did you see the Babylon Bee, where it was like Democrats once again worried about who's going to pick their crops?
Yeah.
See there?
Oh yeah, exactly. They nail it again. Like it's satire, but it's really not.
No. Yes.
It's like, well, maybe we should let the market decide what, legal people should be here, which I think they've even said, Trump wants them to have, I don't know, I'm not an expert on it by a long shot, but like work visas or whatever, where they're not citizens, but they're here.
H-2A program.
Yeah, they're here legally working. And I would even say, like, if they're here and they want to set up permanent residence, make the pathway to citizenship for them, like, easier, where they don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars with lawyers and jump through 1,000 hoops. Like, let's maybe have a program you say, you stay here for 3 years, work, keep your nose clean. You're
don't do cocaine. Stay off the cocaine. Keep your nose clean. I like where you went there.
That sort of stuff. Like, I want those people to be citizens. But and of course, all you see right now, the people they're rounding up are the really bad dudes, as Trump would say.
Yeah. Well, speaking of eggs, did you see who's getting into the egg game?
I don't guess I did.
JBS.
Oh, like they're going to have some large scale chicken, laying houses and whatnot.
They are. So I got this thing here on
because they're the largest protein producer in the world.
Yeah.
They're not just in beef, but they're pork, everything. Yeah.
On January 27th, they announced that its entry into the egg industry by acquiring a 50% stake in Mantiqueira, Brazil. It's South America's largest egg producer. This deal values them at approximately $321 million American. It says it's 4 billion eggs annually and operates facilities in 6 Brazilian states. They export to countries across South America, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. This strategic move allows JBS to diversify its protein portfolio, which includes beef, chicken, pork, salmon, and plant-based proteins. Their CEO, he stated that the investment aligns with the company's long-term strategy of entering new protein segments. So it says the deal is pending regulatory approval, but they'll get it. They'll get it passed. But
they'll pay somebody off.
They will
if it takes it. Yeah.
So I just thought that was kind of crazy. I'm like, well, there's just another. Soon they're going to try to get a chokehold on the egg industry too.
Well, that's good. A lot of those big groups, not just JBS included, they're in the protein business. They're not just specifically in the beef business, and that's why you saw a lot of them whenever the whole fake, not just the plant-based meats, but all these fake meats and the cell-grown meat. A lot of them have invested in that.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're just hedging. They're like, well, the world needs so much protein, for to sustain human life. I don't care if I'm selling it in the form of beef, a plant-based product, a lab-grown, I ain't even gonna call it meat, a lab-grown meat substitute.
Yeah.
Eggs, whatever. Yeah, they just want to. Smart business move. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, and I mean I don't know. We'll see what comes of it. That was another thing. Like, I think it was Cory Booker when he was talking to Brooke. He did mention, he was like, we got JBS and these Packers, and people are. It's kind of making more news now than it used to ever make.
Yeah, more people than just beef producers are familiar with that. Yeah, the big four. 85%
it's because of us.
Yeah, they've been listening to Talk Dirt.
Corey is a very big listener of Talk Dirt to me.
Hey, I'd be happy to have him join us one week. We can talk. We can find some common ground. And
we could.
Things we don't agree on, yeah.
I told Bobby Lee, I did submit our show for White House credentials. Did you see where they were doing that?
I don't remember. Did you share that with me?
I sent it on Instagram. Did you not see it?
Okay. Oh,
it might have been buried in a bunch of reels that I sent you.
There was something you sent me and it got.
Oh, the story got took down.
Yeah.
So the White House, have you not seen what they're doing about podcasts?
No.
So the White House, actually, their press secretary, who's a baller, man, she don't take no crap. She got up there and said that they're going to start allowing influencers, podcasters, and like personalities to come to the briefings, the White House press.
Well, and we've gotten to a point where Rogan's obviously the big example.
Yeah.
Where like he has a bigger audience than legacy media.
And that's exactly what she said. She said more people
times have changed.
Yep. She said more people get their news and information from podcasters and such than they do from legacy media.
Yeah. You go back 30 years ago, like you had to be either on a terrestrial radio station, on TV, or in a newspaper.
Yeah.
Newspapers all but dead. Print media. I don't know. Again, I can just speak for my household. Like, we do not turn on any news.
Dad will ask me.
Local news, Fox News, CNN, none of that.
That's what my dad will be like. Did you see so-and-so on Fox 13 or W? And I'm like, Dad, I don't ever watch. I don't even have a way to watch it.
I get my weather
from the weather app for Weather Channel app.
Like I don't need to watch to hear what the local weatherman is saying.
I don't have to see how many people got shot in Memphis last night. Like, that's pretty much what it's going to be.
Yeah,
but
every now and then I'll be listening to just local radio, which I don't do that very much anymore. And I'll catch a little snippet of a story or a headline.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, because I get clients that ask me sometimes like, oh, did you hear about this? 'Cause, usually like within the pet, one of the animal shelters did something or whatever. And most of the time I'm like, no, unless it makes it to like social media where it gets shared and gets into my algorithm there, I'm kind of out of the loop.
No, I am too. But I did, they put out a thing. They were like, if you are in that media world and you're interested, they gave a link. And I went on there and I filled out the survey and I put us in there.
You could fly to D.C. a couple times a week. And
we'd have to go.
Sit at some White House.
Hell yeah, you got to go.
Briefings. Oh, yeah, it'd be something.
If we got invited, then both our asses are going to D.C.
Yeah.
If we actually got that shit, man, I'd be like, damn, this is badass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, make a little trip out of it. But we're not going to be there I don't even know how often they do the
that would be pretty hard to do.
Yeah. We're not going to be there 5 days a week.
But questions. But I was like by God, yes, if they're going to take some ag media guys, then by God, our hats are going to be in that ring. Because I guarantee you,
I'm not holding my breath.
No, I ain't either. But I guarantee you, some of them other. But I'm watching. I'm watching. I did submit us, so we'll see. One last little thing I want to talk about real quick. Well, I hate to. Well, we can talk about it. We got enough time. Hell, I ain't gonna leave till for about 15 minutes. I saw an article talking about grass-fed versus grain-finished beef. It was the truth about it, and it said, and I got it broke down into like bullet points. So the article, I was actually kind of surprised because all you hear about is how.
What outlet was it?
Ag Daily.
Ag Daily. Okay, I don't know if I'm so familiar with them, but yeah. Yeah,
I just occasionally grab articles from there, but they said that. Basic gist of it is that an all grass-fed, grass-finished cattle across the country is just a very romantic idea that's not plausible.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't, the time it would take to get that beef to finish would not be sustainable to meet current demands.
They said that, and they said the amount of pasture land you'd have to feed that many to keep up with demand.
And I guess where I would counter that, I'd be like, well, if we're not feeding any grain,
you could put it, yeah.
You've all of a sudden got a lot of acres that could then be converted to grass. But yeah, I don't know if that totally pencils out. It's an even swap. It's still going to take longer.
Yeah, it said if all cattle were grass finished, we'd need land equivalent to the size of Texas to graze the cattle on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know how many acres of cropland could then be sacrificed, if it would work out to where like, oh yeah, but it turns out we've got that much extra cropland available. Yeah. Well, and the whole health benefits thing, a lot of people, and I've seen all kinds of graphics and charts, people will point out to different things with the fatty acids, and it may go into it there. It's negligible difference.
Yeah.
Like if you're eating, if you got a grass-fed ribeye versus your grass-fed, grass-finished versus a grain-finished ribeye, like the nutrient content is so negligible. And then the fact that you're then, maybe eating French fries to go with it, totally offsets,
Well,
right.
And isn't the fat content, like I just think a grain-finished steak is better.
I do too. I can tell you I have not eaten enough grass.
Well, that's
finished
true. That's true.
To be an expert on that, but absolutely. It's a different flavor profile.
It's a little fattier, I would think.
And I think we're finally learning over these last few years that fat ain't our problem.
Yes. Yep.
Fat is not our problem. The FDA was paid off for years to demonize fat, mainly by big food, big sugar.
Yep.
To demonize fat as a cause behind obesity and heart disease and all these things. Like, no, it's actually all the sugar and other shit. Like when you're eating your tofu, but you're washing it down with a Coca-Cola, that's a lot less healthy than me eating a big juicy ribeye with a glass of water or sweet tea.
Yeah. Well, this thing, it's nice. This article was pretty nice to read because, it did talk about the case for grain finished beef. And it says feedlots control nutrition, ensuring faster weight gain and resource efficiency. So really the quicker we get those cows to finished weight and out is actually for those people that fear for the climate. That's actually less burden on the climate as much. But this here did say beef quality is more consistent on grain finished beef, leading to well marbled, flavorful cuts. And they did also mention modern feedlots have improved animal welfare, environmental sustainability, and even methane recapture. So, like, it's not the old image. I mean, there's still certainly some of those, the like big images they like to use that demonize the feedlots, but like, there's still a lot. Like, just because they're grain finished, don't mean that they have some horrible life. Like, things have changed in that category.
And we've proven like the cattle are stressed. Like, meat quality suffers greatly. See, I've never like really visited a big feedlot. I've driven past them. I mean, yeah, some people get horrified by the fact that you got a lot of animals in a small area or confinement.
Yeah.
But, they're not laying out there distressed, because if that's the case, they're not going to eat. They're not going to gain. You hear them talk about like dark cutters, where like that's usually an animal that's really stressed, like right before it gets slaughtered.
Yeah.
Like, no, they're trying to make that as easy and low stress as possible, because I mean, eventually you start having issues that then affect the meat quality. All of a sudden, demand for your product is going to drop like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they even went in. They said grass-fed beef is leaner with an earthier taste, while grain-fed beef is more marbled and buttery. If I had to pick between the two, I want that buttery.
Earthy or buttery?
Yeah.
Do you want your steak to taste like dirt or butter?
Yeah, I'm going with butter.
But at the end of the day, like, if you're eating grass-finished beef, do it.
If you eat more beef, of it, we just want you to eat beef.
Eat more of it, yeah.
We're not like them fellas and folks over at Good Ranchers that demonize our fellow beef farmers.
Yeah, because they don't do it the way we do it. No, hell no. Drive up demand for that. Hell, if demand gets high enough, I might see, well, hey, the market is telling me they want grass-finished beef.
Yeah.
I might start grass-finishing some steers. Don't have any plans to today, but you never know.
Yeah, and that's...
I'm going to go dump 2.5 buckets full of corn in front of mine here in just about the time we get done.
Well, and that's the big takeaway was beef production is not as simple as grass-fed good, grain-fed bad. And like, I feel like...
What would you imagine that? Life is not black and white.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's and that's what it kind of tickles me, because
But people want that. Like this person's good, this person's evil. Like you're either all good or all evil. Like your way of doing something is totally wrong, my way is right. Like, no, that's not the world we live in. Like, most people are smart enough to realize that, but definitely online, like, no, you can't have that debate. Donald Trump's either an evil orange man dictator or he's the reincarnation of Jesus.
Yes.
And like, no, I don't believe either.
No. And that's and most people are in that middle camp. And that's why I harken back and say, we sum up this episode, man, we're all in this shit together. That's what I feel like with, if you run old ass tractors, be proud of your old tractors. Don't think you're better than anybody else. If you run new stuff, run all the new stuff you want. Don't think you're better than anybody else. Like, I feel like we're all necessary cogs in this big gear, but and with the way prices are and stuff, I mean, we met today with a marketer from Cargill. Like, we were going over our marketing programs, and he did say there are some guys that do speculate that beans could potentially go down all the way to like $8.50. No one is making money at $8.50 beans. I don't care if every piece of equipment you have is paid for. You can't make no money at $8 beans. And so we got enough issues to worry about than to be like demonizing each other. And look, and I know there's some bad apples in the bunch. I mean, I've talked about the guys that are crushing small farmers just to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that does aggravate me. But in the grand scheme of things here, I feel like we kind of all got to stick together. And which, if we would all stick together, I feel like the big guys that are crushing guys would stop doing that, because they'd be like, well, hey, we need these guys too. So I don't know, man. That's kind of where I feel like we're in the new year. I'm just tired of this shitty attitude.
Yeah. Well, like I said, in the real world, like outside of social media, I think you see a lot less of that. Like, when you're just at the tractor dealership or the parts store or whatever, like face to face, I feel like people, at the big meetings, most part get along,
Yep.
Recognize, hey, we're not that different. We are a small segment. We need to stick together. But social media almost exists, one, for people just to show off and show perfect pictures of their fields and their families and whatnot. But also, these algorithms, like those posts that get 1 billion comments of people fighting and bickering back and forth,
they do great.
That's great for the algorithm, for the app or whatever, the social media site. And I feel like it almost pushes us. I mean, it absolutely pushes us in that direction to find those fights to get in online.
Yep. Oh, I was at a farm meeting last week. We met and talked about seed. It's actually a guy I really want to get him on our show, but sat down and we had a farm meeting. We all ate hot wings. He brought in some hot wings, and some humongous operators were there, and then some normal sized guys were there. I was there, and hell, we all were friendly and all shook hands. And that is the problem. I mean, Joe Rogan's talked about it. The problem with social media is it's allowed people to say things that would have used to gotten them punched in the face.
Yeah, say things to you that they would never say to you in public.
Yeah,
everybody's a badass behind the screen.
They are, and I hate that. Like, that's a goal. Like, that's what I feel like, man. That's the goal. Let's end this keyboard warrior bullshit. If you won't say it to me in person, then just don't say it to me online. So you want to cue up the man?
Cue up our man. He's still our man.
He is. It's got to be our voice. We'll get him on the board at some point. Oh man, now you having trouble?
I got him muted. Damn new phone.
We start off with 2 words. Made in America.
All right. I got an interesting one.
All right. I was going to say I got a couple, but yeah.
Well, I was going to highlight the Zimmer Doctrine.
Okay, yeah.
The book is out. So for people
I saw you shared that, yeah.
Yeah, I've got about 3 weeks.
It was narrated in the USA.
Narrated in the USA. I had to use my full name. It was like narrated by, and for some reason I used my full name, so it says Logan Curtis Hanks. But the book that I did the narration on is out on Audible. You can go on there and buy it. It's called The Zimmer Doctrine by C.G. Cooper. It's a political thriller. I'm working on the next one now.
I'm not an ebook guy, but I think I'll have to download it. I shared that clip with a couple people, some of them that and I was like, look, you can have Logan read a book to you.
What do they say?
They're like, how does he find time to do all that?
Well, that's what I don't know. I don't know how I do. I
You
sleep a
make
lot less.
Good use. Well, yeah, there's that. You got to sleep faster.
Yes, like Arnold, he said just sleep faster. That's pretty much what I do.
But yeah, like days like this, ain't much good for nothing else. So.
No. So yeah, check it out. If you like it, leave a rating. That's what helps. Like it lets them know, like, all right, people like it. If you think it's awful, just don't leave a rating. Just don't leave a negative rating. But yeah, check it out. It is my first one, so have a little grace on me. But yeah, it's pretty neat. Pretty neat process.
What's the line? Is it? It's one of the Will Ferrell movies. Like he has the voice of an angel, or
yeah, in Step Brothers. Okay. Yeah, it's like I literally can see you, like you're floating above your body right now. Yeah. So I don't plan to do any romance. You probably won't hear me reading no erotica because you get to you can when you audition, you can select like what genres.
Oh man, like your deep voice, like I feel like that could, you might have a niche there with like the middle-aged ladies.
Like he slowly inserts his penis.
Wow. Yeah. Which some of those women's books do get really graphic.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I think 50 Shades of Grey, I think it was like vulgar from what I heard.
But that one's even like an outlier. But like there's even just like, or I guess it's not an outlier. Like there's a lot, like that's the one that got all the headlines. But like a lot of these books these women read, because you'll be like my wife will be like.
She'll be in there like fanning herself.
Well, if you're really into this kind of freaky stuff, like, yeah,
I'll make it better than a book for you.
Yeah, we'll get too personal. Like, hey, like, yeah, you don't have to fantasize about this sort of thing. Anyway, I might get myself in trouble.
No, you're good. You're good. All right, guys, check that out. Go to eggsaga.com and get you some stuff. Get you commodity jugs. Get you some wrap. Get all the things you need. It's rainy. It's a good time to be shopping online. And use that code TALKDIRT, all one word, all caps.
10% off.
10% off. And go to our website, talkdirtpodcast.com. Submit your questions on our contact page. Sends it to the email. It's easy to keep up with. We've been getting great feedback on Spotify, too, for everybody that's commented on there. We appreciate you. And, guys, keep leaving us those ratings and reviews. It really helps. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipeline. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Catch y'all next week.